Perfect, and approve the agenda. Item number 2, I'm gonna pull it for tonight.
Motion,
2 underneath new business?
Yeah, under new business, yeah.
Okay.
motion to approve is amended.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion? Roll call.
Crowner,
Aye.
Raleigh,
Aye.
Stewart,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
West,
Aye.
Motion carried. Consent agenda.
Motion to approve is presented.
Support.
Motion with support to approve consent agenda items 1 through 15, which are the minutes of regular city council meeting on July 10th, 2013. Approve city administrator, mayor, city clerk, public works director attendance at the Iowa League of Cities Conference. Approve payment to IAMOU on behalf of SASO. Approve the liquor license renewal for Target. Approve payment to Des Moines County Regional Waste Commission. Approve payment to City of Burlington. Approve payment to Burlington Municipal Water Works. Approve payment to ACO. Approve payment to Stats. Approve payment to Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Commission. Approve payment to Quad City Analytical Services. Approve payment to Data Technologies. Approve payment to Electric Pump. Approve the clerk's monthly financial report for June 2013. And approve the claims list as presented in the amount of $168,035.06. And that breaks down to the general fund, $62,412.10. Hotel motel tax fund, $2,325.50. Road use tax, $6,519. Tax increment financing, $255.29. LMI set aside, $1,075.50. Equipment replacement water, $6,565.84. Equipment replacement administration, $6,565.83. Equipment replacement sewer, $6,565.83. Public Works Building, $362.65. Beaverdale Escrow, $19.75. Westwood Hills Escrow, $19.75. Woodsman Escrow, $19.75. Water, $33,812.50. Sewer, $18,241.44. Risk Management Self-Insurance, $709.94. Flex Account, $1,555.96. Agency Fund, $15,525. Fourth of July Celebration, $3,893.19. Pink Heels Tour, $1,590.24. Any discussion? Roll call.
Raleigh,
Aye.
Stewart,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
West,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Motion carried. This time, before we get into committee reports, I want to recognize and present a couple of things to Harmon Doctorman, longtime member of P&Z Board. Matter of fact, about 19 years, almost 20 years on the board. And we appreciate Harmon's diligence and all the work he's done during that time. And Harmon, if you want to come up, I got a few things to present to you. Let me just come around here, be easier. Than me reaching across. First, I'd like to present you with a certificate of recognition. We hereby express our sincere appreciation to Harmon Doctorman and recognize his outstanding service and contributions to the city of West Burlington, Iowa as a member of the West Burlington Board of Zoning from February 1993 through December 2012. So congratulations on that one.
Thank you very much.
Then we also have a plaque for you. It pretty much says the same thing on that, in recognition and appreciation. We hereby express our sincere appreciation to Harmon Doctorman for his outstanding service and contribution to the city of West Burlington, Iowa as a member of the West Burlington Board of Zoning Adjustment from February 1993 through December 2012. Kelly Fry, City Clerk, and Hans Strausel, Mayor, City of West Burlington.
Thank you
There
very
you go.
much.
Got one more thing. What happened to it? Oh, there it is. Right. This one here, I don't know, you guys must have used these for a long time, because you got newer ones, because they'd like to slide out, so be careful with it going, going home. It's your name tag.
Okay,
So
well,
you can put it on your desk at home, so that when Rod comes over, he won't forget your name.
so remember how to spell
Yeah,
it.
but thank you very much for
Thank you
all
very
the
much.
Thank you, sir.
all the rest of your time.
Well, it's been great to be a part
Yep.
of a growing community like this.
Has been. We appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Harmon.
See, and we didn't keep you till 9 o'clock either. So anyway, we'll go to committee reports. Finance, Rod, you got anything
I
going?
have nothing new, sir. I see Leslie's not around. I don't know if Dan's got anything or not.
I do not, under that one anyway.
Anything for finance? Anybody have anything for it? Go to streets.
I don't really have anything, but I know that Kelly and Leslie and everybody who are involved with the sale that's gonna be this Saturday will be going on of all the yard sales. I think there's 45 to 49 houses that's gonna have a yard sale, and Katie probably got involved in it too. And so everybody's welcome to West Burlington. And besides that, I don't have any more. Rod?
We've been doing quite a bit of patching here the last couple of weeks, and tomorrow I'm gonna be driving through town with, the gentleman from LL Pelling Company, looking at which alleys we're gonna seal coat. At the next meeting, I'll have a list of alleys that we're gonna recommend that get seal coated, and if you approve it, then shortly after that, we should be seal coating some alleys, so we're finally getting those taken care of.
The patching made a big difference.
Oh, yes.
And we should probably talk about this,
Let me, before you start, let me go back to the garage sale, yard sales. For anybody that wants to pick up maps, they're available here at City Hall and a couple of other places, my understanding,
they're at the pool, I know they have some at the pool and,
pool. But the neatest thing about it is you can pick up a map, and if you have a smartphone, there's a little scanner button on the top. You can barcode, whatever, you can scan it, and it comes up with all the places, well, of course, I can lose it, of all the locations and all the addresses and what's for sale on them. So, pretty neat thing that these guys put together. So now, ash borer.
I'm sure everybody's aware that with the news about the emerald ash borer, and it's gonna affect some of our street trees. We've got 45 trees that we left a thing at in front of your desk there. Randy and I have been talking, and we think we should probably start taking these down a little bit at a time, year by year, because we don't want to have to pay for taking all these down all at once. So we just wanted to get this out there so people can start thinking about it. I know there's going to be issues. These are street trees. We'll have to discuss. Perhaps one of the ideas we had is replacing them with a better tree for the ones we take out to get people's shade back, because these are really nice shade trees right now, but the way I understand it, once they start dying, they'll go from being perfectly fine to dangerous in just like a year or a year and a half, so it's best to get on top of it, and we just wanted to mention that to get people thinking about it.
I think it's pretty cool that you got us this map showing where they're all at and stuff.
I think one of the first things we ought to do is we ought to contact the homeowners or where these are located at, and start letting them know what our plans are, but I definitely would like to see these trees get replaced with something. If we're gonna take them down, then let's replace them with, something that's on our list. And that's a lot of trees, just in our right of way. We don't know how many are in backyards and front yards that aren't in the right of way.
And that young lady that came and did the tree, assessment for us and gave us these, which ones was which, didn't she have a list also of some desirable trees to
Yeah.
plant or something? Wasn't there some other information with that?
Yeah, we got that out and looked at it again, and she even recommended back then we should start taking out these ash trees at that time in like a 6-year rotation, so
Knowing that it was coming.
knowing that it was, could get here at some point, so.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on streets? Public safety?
I don't have anything. Chiefs are here.
Police department doesn't have anything, but I'll take any questions if you have any questions.
Do anything? Mike?
On the building side, community college project is completed. The ortho rehab opening date for the fitness center is August 14th. The opening date for the ortho unit is August the 12th, so in the next week and a half, we're gonna be doing a lot of inspections out there to get those buildings ready to go for those opening dates. Marshall's interior and exterior work continues. We've had ADA issues out there, but we've got them resolved. And we've also had some fire alarm, public notifications since they're changing the different zoning in that area, and I think we've got that worked out. Dayton Freight interior walls are going up, plumbing's completed, electrical's been inspected, and sheet rock's underway. Valley Distribution, interior work continues in their new office area. Sheet rock has been painted, some of the ceiling grids are in. They're also setting some cabinets, it's about 60% completed. We've got 27 active building permits after closing out 6 this week. We still have 27 active. Rental inspections continue, and we have our first building permit for the middle school property already in place with 2 more coming. So that's already starting to move forward. And on the fire side, we have picked up the door prop, and we've already had several classes conducted, including the probationary firefighters have gone through it, so. And Dan was up a little while this week, Dan West, and looked at the prop and saw that we had been using it pretty extensively, and it was a good move for the fire department. And that's all I've got.
Okay. Anybody have anything for public safety? Utilities, Carol?
I don't have anything, Randy.
No, I don't have anything tonight.
Anybody have anything for utilities? Sanitation?
I don't have anything, Randy.
Nothing tonight.
I guess that pump we talked about earlier is number 13 on the consent agenda, the $3,000 pump. I guess it was a $600 pump with $2,400 in
It was
labor.
actually a transducer, but
Transducer
yeah,
for the pump.
the labor and mileage were the big part of that.
Which, as you were telling me, anything out there going forward is gonna be expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, we do have one thing, and that's Hal Morton's with us tonight to give us a little update on the Solid Waste Commission.
All right,
Hal?
plug in here.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know how the thing works, Hal.
Hey, Brad. Our IT guy here.
Brad can show us how, or, here he comes.
He's got pictures running somehow there.
I do, and it won't fit in that, so.
Do you have notes on PowerPoint you need to read?
No, While they're setting that up, Katie, you got anything going on? Other staff reports?
That's what I'm doing, plugging in right
Hey, while he's setting it up, hey, Mike? Yeah. Down here, the truck terminal on the west side of the road.
That's Dayton Freight.
That's what?
Dayton Freight.
Okay. Thanks.
They're doing a lot of work.
Holy cow.
And I also got Wood Small Electric across the street all cleaned up, including the back lot. It was-
Yeah, looks nice now.
Okay. Al, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
We're ready.
All right.
Fire away.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I think the last time I was here was probably maybe 5 years ago. Might have been here since then.
Hasn't been that long.
5 years ago was when I was here raising the alert that the rules were going to be rewritten in a way that was going to be a lot more expensive for us. I'm here tonight as part of our, every 5 years we have to update our comprehensive plan. So I'm going to focus primarily on landfill issues tonight. Because that's where the big dollar impacts have been. But I'll be glad to answer questions about anything that we do. Just jump right in. This is our capital budget from 2002 projected out to 2020. This is not operations, this is strictly capital, and it's strictly at the landfill. Our landfill, both capital and operations, are funded through our tipping fees. There is no other revenue stream for it, so that's the reason for separating these things out. And one of these a pointer? Any chance? Yes. Okay, you can see we were on a cash flow construction basis up until about 2007 or 8. October 2007 is when the new rules took effect that changed all of the landfill rules and started over. And from that point on, we not only had a huge impact immediately, but on an ongoing basis. And much of that is attributable to something that I think we've talked about before. It's something that's called the abutment liner, where they required us to construct a new composite liner over the top of a 4-foot clay cap that was in place over old waste. Complete over-design, I still believe that, but we lost the battle and have had to do that. And we just this week finished construction on our next to last. We're kind of jigsaw puzzling as we go so that we can cover the leachate collection layer before it erodes away from us. So we're building it in segments. We're on our just finished our next to last segment. We have another one in 2 years, which you can see right here. And that doesn't really account for all of the additional costs, but the majority of it has to do with that. On an ongoing basis, in 2018, we will be building our first new footprint basal liner since the new rules took effect. And as you can see, it is a little bit more expensive than it probably would have been had we continued this line on this way. So I don't know if we will ever be able to get back strictly to a cash flow basis of construction. I would like to think so, and we're trying to find ways to attenuate costs out beyond us. And there is some good news in that. In the last 3 or 4 years, the DNR has come to realize that these rules were more expensive than they anticipated. They're probably more expensive than I was alerting people to a little bit. And they are looking at ways to temper those rules, but right now that's through interpretation rather than through actual rule changes. So we'll see how far that goes and how far that attitude continues into the future. For now, and there's the new cell construction will be more going forward. That's because of the requirements for composite liners as opposed to the alternative liners, and also for much more extensive quality control, quality assurance testing as you go through construction and so forth. Now, this is how we tackled it. This folds in the operation and the capital, so this is what the tipping fees are used for. And just a quick breakdown, the blue portion at the bottom is our operations. That's the part that we have a reasonable amount of control over. And I'm going to talk in a minute about this one hump in the middle here. Other than that, it's really been about a 1.5% to 3% cost of living increase per year going forward. So that's about what that slope represents. The purple above that is our designation, annual designations to, like the equipment replacement fund is the main one that's in there. We actually skipped all of those designations in 1 year because of the expense of construction of the new capacity. And then the green, yellow, and red is the capital improvement portion that we saw on the last slide, except that it's now been spread out over a number of years because of borrowing money. The loans portion of this. The yellow is the principal, the red is the interest payments. And there is 1 year out ahead of us in 2017 where they overlap. You might remember that we had two different types of loans. First, we had general revenue through Des Moines County. We will be finished paying that off in 2017. We were able to refinance that a couple of years ago at a lower interest rate, and we are paying principal and interest on that right now on an annual basis. The other loan is the state revolving fund, which was allowed for anything that the department deemed related to closure of older fill areas. And we have not drawn down all of the amount that we anticipate we will need to yet, but we're currently only paying interest on that per year. And in 2017, we have to start paying principal, and that's the reason the yellow and red are so much bigger that 1 year before they drop back down. The light blue line is our tipping fee. It had been $30 a ton since, I think, the beginning of the commission in 1990. That's before my days. And in fiscal year 2006, we started increasing it. That was $1 a ton, a couple of dollars there, and it's continued to go up. We are currently projecting an annual increase of $1 a ton per year. We revisit that every year as part of our budget process. We also revisit it in November, mid-year, to see how we're progressing on that. So that's a projection as we go into the future. As you can see, our capital costs dropped way down after that next footprint out here. There is another really big expense a couple of years off the end of the chart. So our job now is to attenuate those spikes as we go forward to try to avoid having to borrow more money as we go forward. Now, I'd like to talk about this hump in the operating costs. Almost all of that had to do with leachate management. And we are now caught up on leachate management, and as of this fiscal year that we're just starting, I believe we are the first landfill in the state that has the capability of managing all of our leachate on site. Last year, we exported all of it to the Burlington Wastewater Treatment Plant, and at the worst of it, we were spending over $50,000 a month just in transportation. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail on the next slide here. Historically, in our older fill areas, under the old rules, we had the leachate collection systems that were required by law. They were not an enforcement priority for the state, and we used what I would call benign neglect in management of those systems. They were in place, we were capturing leachate, we were treating leachate, we had an NPDES permit, and we were discharging to Flint Creek under that permit, according to that permit. However, we did not spend a lot of time maintaining the pumps in the extraction wells in the old fill area. And the reason we were doing that was that we also probably have more groundwater monitoring wells per acre at our landfill than just about anybody else. We had really good information that we were not having contaminant migration issues or problems. So we were allowing the leachate to build up within the old fill area using the same principle that we're using in our new cells of recirculating leachate that we captured back into the cells to accelerate decomposition of the organics. Decomposition of the organics produces leachate and it produces landfill gas. Those are the two media that are capable of transporting contaminants. So if you can stabilize the organics, you remove any agent that can convey contaminants beyond the landfill in the future should there be any problems in the future. That's the objective, is to stabilize the waste so that it can't cause an environmental risk to the groundwater or the neighboring properties. And we were achieving that in the unlined area just because of the way that the laws were being implemented at that time by the state. With the change of rules, we were no longer able to do that. Leachate management became one of the main focuses of enforcement by the state. So we had to spend a lot of staff time, a lot of money, a lot of engineering, a lot of pump replacements and replacement of pump systems to get to a system of extraction wells that would keep leachate at very low levels within that fill area. At the same time we were doing that, we had 2.5 of the wettest years on record in the area. So we got hit with a really large double whammy. And by 2010, when we had all of our leachate collection systems working consistently, and according to the state regulations and enforcement priorities, we transported about 13 million gallons of leachate into the fiscal year 2010. That included this backlog of liquid that had been backing up in the old fill areas. To put that in perspective, by 2 years later, we're down to 3 million gallons a year, roughly. So we have made tremendous progress in our leachate management, but that's still a lot of leachate to truck. That is what most landfills do in the state, is truck their leachate. But it is a lot to truck, and it's very expensive, and it has its own carbon footprint and potential for things to go wrong with it. So we've worked very hard to try and get around that, and let me describe what we've done. Starting with what I would say is our third priority, our number 3 option. Well, even before that, we closed 22 acres of old fill area. Much of that we had closed in the 1990s, and in the 1990s, the state refused to certify partial closures of landfills. We believed at the time that they were supposed to do that under the law, under the rules, their interpretation. They would only certify closure if you closed the entire facility. So when they changed the rules in 2007, we had to go back and reclose all of those acres according to the new rules. Good thing is that when you close those areas, then rainfall cannot infiltrate into the waste and become leachate. So that is your biggest, that's where most of your leachate comes from, is from rainfall that gets in contact with the solid waste. Now, this spring we finally received a renewal on our discharge permit, which had been expired for 8 or 10 years while the state tried to figure out how they were going to implement new federal guidelines. And there are only 2 landfills in the state that have permits to discharge, so we were kind of a special class of permits that they didn't spend a lot of effort on. We still had a permit, but we were not able to meet the discharge requirements under that provisional permit that we had in the interim. We finally have a new one, and we believe we will be able to discharge under that. That is our fallback position if we don't take care of it through our other 2 options. Our number 2 option is leachate recirculation. We can only do that in cells with composite liners. We have 2 of those cells so far. Every cell in the future will be composite lined, and we'll be able to recirculate in all of those. That system, by the way, the recirculation system, is designed to handle up to about 7 million gallons a year if we need to. Our number 1 option is leachate evaporation, and this is finally functional. We've had a lot of delays. It's about 1.5 years behind schedule, finally getting it up and running. But we're taking all of the landfill gas that we capture, and we're using that to fire a flame, and the flame then is evaporating leachate at less than boiling temperature. We're shooting the flame into a stream of leachate, and it evaporates, turns into steam at about 175 to 185 degrees going through. And our emissions from this, the contrast isn't real good here, but it is just steam. The solids are then captured in a filter sock that goes back in the working face of the landfill. And the limitation of this system really is the quality and quantity of gas that we recover. We're just below the Title V threshold, so we're not technically required to capture gas at our landfill until we build our next cell. But we have been capturing gas and flaring it for about 12 years. And so now, instead of wasting that gas, we're using it as an energy resource on site to evaporate up to 2.7 million gallons of leachate a year, which is nearly everything we captured last year. And again, that assumes 24/7 operation, and that's ideal. But currently, the concentration of methane in our landfill gas is a little higher than we projected. We're actually evaporating more per hour slightly than what we used as our design engineering standard for it. So it's performing well. We're having typical startup glitches of trying to figure out how to deal with the solids and cleaning the filters and those sorts of things, but it's working quite well so far. That's our number 1 option. And when you think about it, what it has done is turned our landfill into a waste-to-energy facility. And I want to talk a little bit about some terms that are cropping up more and more in state and national news, things that you probably have heard as civic leaders and will hear going forward. Zero waste, zero landfill. I want to talk about what they do mean and what they don't mean. First of all, I don't think you'll find any two people that will give you the same definition of either of those terms. Now, I hear on the morning and a lot of times on the radio, every Subaru is built in a zero landfill plant. But it doesn't tell you what they're doing with the stuff, it just tells you what they're not doing with the stuff. And that's really the issue. Is it a matter of scale? Most of the zero waste plans I've seen for businesses or for cities admit that there will still be waste. And if there's still waste, then what does zero really mean? The bottom line is they're more planning terms than engineering terms or scientific terms. They're marketing, they are evocative terms that get people thinking. But again, they're negative evidence. They don't tell you what's actually happening with this stuff. Remember the day, back in the day with zero landfill? We were there in the 70s and before. It wasn't really all that good. All of those are zero landfill options for waste. And we've spent time since Earth Day trying to make sure that solid waste goes to a properly engineered facility. So zero landfill isn't necessarily a good thing. It can be, but it depends on what they're actually doing with it. As far as zero waste, well, I remember back in the mid-90s, I was out there saying, you know, our ultimate goal, way out there, is to get the public, to change the public perception to where they don't view anything as a waste. But that also means that they have to view everything as having value. You can't just change the name and make it go away. The devil is in the details of what those mean or don't mean, and you really have to do due diligence on any of these kinds of claims to figure out what is really happening to this material, and is that what you want to have happen to it. Under most conditions, zero waste and zero landfill really aren't a very good option. Let's talk about the waste management hierarchy. This is something that we have followed and supported ever since the commission has been around. Reduce, reuse, recycle. We've probably all grown up with that now. And we promote that both in residences and in businesses. We promote recycling, including the recycling of organics, which we call composting. But sometimes you have to start asking questions. This character here is, those are bags full of styrofoam clamshells from a restaurant. Another term that is popular in some parts of the state now is single stream recycling. Single stream recycling has some of the same problems that I've been talking about here, particularly when it comes to plastics. Number ones and number twos still comprise 80 to 85% of all the plastics by weight that we generate. That means that 3 through 7s make up 15 to 20% and split among all those different kinds. Well, how do you recycle smaller quantities of those kinds of plastics? If you look at most of the programs that I'm aware of in the state and nationally, the 3 through 7s get baled together as contaminated plastics, and they get exported to Asia. This has really come to the forefront recently because China has started enforcing a policy, a law that they've had on their books for 5 years, and they've just started enforcing it in the last 6 months. It's called the Green Fence Policy. It prohibits the offloading of contaminated materials. And I think what happened, what I've heard from some folks in the industry, is that some of the higher up leaders in China got tired of being blamed for the world's pollution problems, so they decided to crack down. Well, commingled plastics are hard to recycle. And some of those going to Asia maybe did get recycled, but the vast majority of them were being burned as a fuel in countries that have no air quality standards. And the problem with burning plastics is they have high BTU values, but they also have high chlorine contents. And chlorinated compounds are almost always carcinogenic. There are hundreds more than have been actually studied, so I can't say they all are, but they're nasty things. So, like any kind of certification program, whether it's ISO or LEEDS or zero waste, those kinds of things, sometimes just the focus on the statistics makes the players want to overreach. and overstate their accomplishments so that they can look good, or for marketing purposes. Again, remember that burn barrels are zero landfill options. Waste-to-energy facilities are too, and we do have in Iowa one of the longest operating waste-to-energy facilities in the country. The Ames plant's been there since, what, the 80s, mid-70s, something like that. It is coupled with, on the front end, a very thorough recycling program that removes the recyclables before it goes in and is co-combusted with coal. The bottom line of waste-to-energy facilities is they're very large-scale facilities, and you have to have a large population base to support them, and there are more of them that have failed than have succeeded. So they're a high-risk venture. They can be a good solution if you have just all the right conditions for it to work. Down here in southeast Iowa, probably not. Roadside dumping and dumping in streams and oceans, again, are zero landfill options, but not good ones. Now, I want to go back to the waste management hierarchy. I've changed the vocabulary a little bit here because, just again, for discussion purposes. Waste reduction means if you don't generate, you don't have to manage it. That seems very basic, and we still very much support that. Reuse is reusing something without having to invest a lot of energy into transforming it to something else. Composting and recycling, again, are really kind of the same thing, and they have to do, composting has to do with organics and recycling within organics. And then recovery has to do with energy recovery. Stabilization, I mentioned that earlier, that's the ultimate objective of a modern landfill. Now, these are examples that we have had ongoing in our planning area for a number of years. Education, outreach, business recognition, improving system efficiencies. Reuse, things like preservation station. There are many examples around here. That's just one that I happen to be personally involved in. Recycling and composting, energy capture, and landfilling. Now, over the last 5 years, the last plan cycle, we have done some special projects worthy of note here. We constructed a new scale house and Hanscom Center at the landfill that uses green building techniques. We were originally going to seek LEED certification on it, and when one of the grants that we were counting on disappeared, then we decided the documentation that it takes to get to LEED certification was the least value-added item in the project. So that went, but we used the same concepts in design, including geothermal heating and cooling of the processing area where we handle chemicals. So we have non-combustible heat in the processing area. That's what the pond is on the way into the landfill. It's our geothermal source. We also completely overhauled the lighting at our recycling center, both in the offices and in the processing area. That was through a joint grant with Alliant Energy and Budget Lighting, one of those where they get to keep the savings until we've paid off the expense of the project, and then we get to keep the savings after that. We did that a couple of years ago. It's worked very well for us. Under recycling, our commission chose to ban electronics with screens from our landfill. They have high quantities of lead and other heavy metals. Thought it was just best to keep them out of there. So we started an e-waste recycling program at the landfill at the same time, actually before we banned televisions and computers with screens from the landfill. It's a local ban. It's not a state or a federal ban. Now, on e-waste, I should also mention that there are a lot of people around in this area that claim to recycle electronics. Again, it's a due diligence issue. If you're not asking questions about where it ends up, you're really not fulfilling your responsibility. We as the state contract, we know that our program is safe. We know that it stays in North America and the materials are properly handled at every step of the way. We also endorse currently the program for computer recycling at Goodwill. They are working in conjunction with Dell Computers. They will take all computer parts, working or dead, and they will take them for free, which is a better price than we can give anybody. So we take computers, but we have to recover the costs from the state contract. So we do not currently endorse anybody else locally because we're not convinced that they can certify that all of their materials are being properly handled. We also added number 5 plastics to our recycling stream, curbside and drop-off, about a year ago, I believe, maybe a year and a half now. That's those are mostly dairy cups, yogurt and cottage cheese and those kinds of products, and they used to come in number 2s. Dairy industry has switched over to number 5s over recent years, and most people can't, I know I can't read the little letters on the bottom anyway. Most people that were already used to recycling them kept putting them in their bins. Instead of making a big deal about it, we toyed with different ways to handle that in our processing system. So that, to see if we could feasibly process those and reliably market those, and if the markets were going to stay there. We did that for about a year and a half and finally decided, yes, we can do this without having to increase cost to the commission, to our members. We can add plastics in, we have a viable way to do that, and then we went public with it. So that's kind of how we like to do business. We're also starting up an asphaltic shingle recycling program. We received a small swap grant last fall. Unfortunately, by the time we got it, we were not able to complete the project before winter. Then we had a wet spring. We're in a holding pattern on scaling that up at this point. We need to pave the pad and be ready to go with that. And asphaltic shingles, curiously enough, have more asphalt in them than road millings. So they're a valuable product. As long as we can keep the incoming stream clean, then we will be able to contract with somebody to grind that material to DOT specs. That material will then be sold to area pavers that are working. They don't have to be working on a state contract, but it will be eligible for use in state paving projects. And as I've already mentioned, we have now converted our landfill to a waste-to-energy facility out there, which we're very proud of. So that's the big dollar items. As I mentioned, we are trying to hold the line on operations. We're trying to stay basically at cost of living increases or less each year annually. We've been successful with that, with the exception of leachate for a large number of years now. The capital costs we have attenuated through loans over time. We are continuing, I am continuing to work directly with the department to find ways to temper some of the extremes in the regulations. And there has been some progress in those areas. There is probably going to be a wholesale rule revision, not just to the landfill chapter, but to the other 21 chapters of solid waste rules, all at the same time so that it's a big enough package nobody can talk about it. And I think the earliest that will come up is 2015, if I'm right, to start the process. So we'll see what happens with that. The good news is that we have a new bureau chief in solid waste who has worked his way up within the Solid Waste Bureau and is a person who is very interested in tempering the extremes of those rules and trying to find, trying to factor in bang for the buck issues on the environmental management side of things. That's refreshing because up until the last couple of years we haven't seen even a glimmer of that at DNR. So I'm hopeful that as we move forward, some of the costs we've been anticipating will diminish. Probably won't go away, but diminish. And I'm hopeful that we can stretch out some of the capital expenses so that we can get close, at least close back to a cash flow basis on what we're doing. Our comp plan update is due January, and I'm crunching evaluating the graphs right now of all the recycling participation, compost use, yard waste, household hazardous waste, electronic waste, all the different waste streams that we manage. And I'll be glad to provide a copy of that by the time we're done for the city to have here, or there will probably be one at the library. It'll be on our website. It'll be a lot of different places. And I'd be glad to come back and talk to you if you invite me. So with that, let me open up to questions.
Any questions? A lot to take in.
It is. Everything we consume eventually ends up in the waste stream, so it's a big universe.
You know, that's one of the things we try to educate the public on, having less go out there, but yet the costs keep rising, and that's what, pays for those costs is the tonnage fee, so
That's right,
if you're, if we're doing our job, it's just a circle.
that's right.
Well, thank you, Hal, for coming in and updating us, and hopefully everybody has a little better understanding on how this thing works out there.
And you're always welcome to drop in and ask questions or talk to us about ideas you have. Always, our door's always open to that.
We will go to citizen inquiries. Anybody wishing to address the council on matters that are not on the agenda tonight? Nobody running to the microphone? New business. Item number 1 is to consider resolution approving a bond purchase agreement for the $3,750,000 general obligation urban renewal bond series 2013. Jeff's with us tonight, Mr. Heil. We've got some rates that we could lock in.
Yes. Done a lot of work.
Jeff also has the bonds for the Solid Waste Commission.
We did.
Helped us out with that with the county.
So I could relate to the presentation.
Yeah.
Pleasure being here tonight. Jeff Heil, Northland Securities. I handed out a couple hard copy, 2 pages. Let's just look real quick. I'm not going to spend as much time as Hal did. Trust me. The back page, the red chart, just wanted to let you see real quickly where the market was. And, up until the middle of June, we'd been at really decent 10-year rates. And the whole world markets got real jittery about the middle of June and went up about 170 basis points, 1.7%. And when we talked, 2-3 weeks back, we were about a 2.5%. Talked with Leslie and Dan, and I said, our goal was by the time this came, we're looking for a break, and we dropped off about 50 basis points, where we're looking at a 2.05% tonight. And just talking with traders, it appears is trying to get jittery again to go back up. So I think we've picked a sort of a good break. If we could have did it, 2 months ago, it'd been a lot better. But after this, that just gives you an idea where the market was. You flip around to the front real quickly. We got $3,750,000 bonds. And you see under those total sources, we're going to actually deliver you $3,802,000. We've sold, you see in there, there's reoffering premiums. The banks really don't want as low rates what the market is, so they're offering, we're selling at premiums. We're generating over $51,000 of premiums on these $3,750,000 bonds, which you can see how that's generated on the front of the second page. You'll see the coupon column and the yield column. We're selling straight 2% coupons, and that's what the banks want to buy, but the actual yield on those is 0.751, 13, 15. That's where they're paying us, so they can have the 2% coupons. They're paying us that $51,000. And that way we're able to generate a lot of the issuance costs covered. So we're going to be able to deposit $3,732,000 into the project for the maintenance department. So in a nutshell tonight, you'll see on the back of the first page that is the debt schedule. Down at the bottom, the NIC is what we really look at. It's a 2.05%. That's after paying the costs of issuing the bonds. Net effect yield is 2.05, locked in through 2020. Any questions, comments? If you would approve it tonight, we would lock in these rates, and then at your next meeting, bond counsel will have a loan issuance document that would just boilerplate what we did locking in here, and then money would be delivered into the city account on August 21st. So that's sort of the timeline and the background on it.
Anybody have any questions? Seven-year bond, right? 7-year.
And it's wrapped around your other debt. And as you can see, those payments, we don't have any payment in 14, a small principal payment of 25,000 in 15, 110,000 in 16. And then we're paying off a whole bunch of other debt, and then we're gonna average it out with $800,000 to $900,000 principals. That kept our payments fairly level with the TIF. So your TIF cash flow fits this structure without having to raise any property tax or anything else.
We got a resolution there.
So Jeff, we'll get this total amount in August, whatever date you said,
Yes, August
will be
21st,
deposited in one of the city accounts.
correct.
Mr. Gifford, do you have any comments about this?
I don't, like Jeff said, it'd been nice to get this at 1.75, but we weren't ready at that time, so looks like I was a little worried about the Detroit issue causing some problems, but, so it looks like we're getting ahead of that, so it should be good.
What was it, a couple weeks ago, you checked with the local banks, you know, what the local markets were, and they were over 3% at the time. And,
Great Western Bank had expressed interest in getting in on this, and so I asked him for a quote on apples to apples, and he was over 3%, so.
Somebody like to make a motion to approve the bond purchase agreement?
So move, I'll make a motion on that.
Support.
Motion with support. Is there any other discussion?
Just that I have to agree with the market and everything, what I've heard today, I got a feeling it's gonna go up too, so.
it's volatile right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth playing that game. A couple more weeks could be a little bit better, because a couple more weeks could be a whole lot worse, and a 2.05 is not very bad.
No, it's good, it's good.
So if we're gonna do it, I think we need to lock it in and be done.
The way these spikes are, you don't know what's gonna happen. Alrighty. Roll call.
Stewart?
Aye.
Lees?
Aye.
West?
Aye.
Crowner?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
That gives you authority then to sign those.
Did that. You can always tear it up. They're not good till she attests it.
Test those, and then, like say, at your next council meeting, in 2 weeks,
August
be-
7th.
send the bond.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
The 2 weeks from today? No, it'll be 3 weeks.
No, it's 2.
I think it's
Oh,
two.
no, it's 3 weeks, because the
The 31st
the
is next week.
31st is on a Wednesday.
2 weeks.
Well, at your next meeting,
The 7th.
7th, is it? Okay, 7th.
Good.
John Danos, Dorsey Whitten will have a bond resolution that will just have this in alone. So, that'll be
Okay.
So with that, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh,
We're gonna start needing some of that money, because we're gonna start paying on this building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can just mail them? Okay.
Thank you.
You okay putting your name on something, Katie, for $3 million?
No problem.
Item number 3 is to consider change order number 1 and a pay request for number 3 from Keokuk Contractors for the work on the lift station upgrade in the amount of $41,311.70.
Motion to approve.
Motion with support. Any discussion?
Randy, you okay with all this?
Yeah, everything turned out really well down there. It was a very good project from start to finish, and keeping a little bit out in case the grass doesn't come in, but other than that, everything's in order and they should be paid.
Okay.
Roll call.
Lees,
Aye.
West,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Raleigh,
Aye.
Stewart,
Motion carried. Item number 4 is to consider payment to Bi-State Contracting for the construction of Public Works facility and the amount of $81,055.90 for startup costs.
That little fence is pretty expensive.
So move.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion?
I guess I heard you guys were gonna have a meeting today, how'd that go?
Went real well. Dave actually stayed out there a little longer after we did, and I think everything's all worked out, and next month a few things will start happening out there, so,
See some machinery start showing up soon, and
yep.
And Dave, you still have a recommended occupancy date of?
Contract completion date is October 1st of next year.
Probably get asked that a few times along the way. No problem.
And likewise, I will ask the contractor in a similar manner.
Thank you, sir.
If they have dry weather the rest of the year, they should be going to town pretty
Yep.
much, so. Roll call.
West,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Raleigh,
Aye.
Stewart,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 5 is to consider resolution for issuing credit cards.
This is something the bank asked for. We never had to do it before. It's just it must be one of the new rules that we have to do, so.
motion to approve.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion? Roll call.
Raleigh,
Aye.
Stewart,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
West,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 6 is to consider purchase of a truck for the Public Works Department, an F-550 Ford from Deary Brothers for $62,892.41. That does include the plow and spreader.
That's everything.
That's everything, right?
Both local dealers bid on just the base truck. It's, the plow and spreader is coming from, would come from Monroe, so they were just bidding on the same truck.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion?
How much you think you can get out of the old one?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to see 4,000 or 5,000, but I honestly don't know. It's a truck that's almost 30 years old.
Yeah.
But it has a really nice hopper spreader on it and a plow. And the hopper spreader is actually, it's stainless steel. So to the right person, it's, it might be worth
You
more.
gonna put it on gov deals?
That's what we'd
That's
like to do.
coming up and we're gonna discuss in
Oh.
a minute.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Would a coat of paint on it help?
Probably not.
It doesn't look too good.
We're gonna clean the cab up a little bit. We put some degreaser on it and it kinda left a mess on the cab, but I think if we get a little rubbing compound, we can get that cleaned up a little bit.
Could put bed liner all over it and look new.
Roll call.
Stewart,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
West,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Raleigh,
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 7, now we're going to consider selling an 87 dump truck and paint machine on govdeals.com. Paint machine's the walk behind, right? The old walk behind.
So moved.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion?
Mr. Gifford, I don't remember, do we have control on what that truck brings when you put it on gov deals like that?
You
Do you
can.
have to not, do you have to sell it?
We put a minimum bid on it.
You can put you have some control over that if you,
I don't remember. We looked into that when we first started putting stuff on there.
yeah, no, you can put a reserve price or something on there. I think that maybe affects how many bidders you have,
Well,
but,
of course it does.
I mean, if we've got some ideas of doing something different, I don't,
Okay.
now that one's way different than a lot of your online auctions. You have a lot more control over it.
I just wondered if we could, if we can guarantee ourselves it's gonna bring more than $500 or something if you put it on there.
Yeah, I don't think putting a small reserve would hurt too much, Figure out what scrap price is and put a reserve at scrap price.
That's kind of where I was.
Especially if it's got a plow and a spreader on it.
Well, that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, that truck's worth it, as it sits, at least $3,000.
Well, I think it
It
is too.
starts and it runs. It's a functional snow plow and spreader. We used it last year. When we parked it, it still works.
I know.
It's the last truck that comes out of the shed, but it still does work.
So somebody with a large parking lot could have a
Yeah,
really nice bargain
exactly.
there. So.
Or one of these firms in town that do that for a living, be handy for them too.
I think there'll be a fair amount of interest in it. I just don't want it to slip through the cracks and,
You can set a reserve and you can also set the opening bid price. I'll look and see which one's
Okay.
more advantageous to do, but you can do that either way to assure you get.
all right, thanks.
Okay. Roll call.
Lees,
Aye.
West,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Raleigh,
Aye.
Stewart,
Aye.
Motion carried. Next thing is item number 8 is to consider purchase of hose for the fire department in the amount of $10,640.
So moved.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion? Roll call.
West,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Raleigh,
Aye.
Stewart,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Motion carried. Now, item number 9 is consider selling the old fire hose from the fire department on Gov Deals.
So moved.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion? Roll call.
Crowner,
Aye.
Raleigh,
Aye.
Stewart,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
West,
Aye.
Motion carried. Don't have any old business. Anybody have anything? Anyone wishing to address council matters we did discuss or didn't discuss tonight? Anybody running? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion with support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nays